Members of Council, I'm calling our public meeting back to order. I do have a motion which reads, moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session at 10:10 a.m. All those in favour? Opposed, if any? Carried. I can advise that the reason that we went in camera at 9 a.m. For the identified reasons were the only items that were discussed at that time. We did start our meeting at 9 a.m. due to a closed session. We are now in public session and we are on item 5, which is matters arising from the closed session. There are none at this time. Item 6, comment period. We have a couple members of the audience. Are there any comments you wish to make on this agenda? See none. Thank you for being here nonetheless. Item 7, public meetings. There are none designated for this agenda. And we're moving on to item 8, part 1, consent agenda, which I do have a motion before me, which reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Hergert. Be it resolved that items 1A to 1B inclusive contained in part 1 consent agenda be adopted as amended. And further, that the authorization be given to the action to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein, save and except the Council Vision Plan 2019-2020, items contained in Clerk Report CC number 10/01/19, pulled for discussion during new business. Clerk Turner, please.
So I have two items. The one item that's noted as being pulled from the consent agenda relates to a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole meeting for an October 8th, 10 a.m. Special Committee of the Whole meeting to discuss kind of the upcoming vision plan format for those sessions. Yes. Unfortunately, Mayor Robinson has indicated there's a scheduling conflict, so that will be discussed later on in new business for a potential change at Council's direction. And secondly, I've also been informed that under upcoming committee meetings that there is a Saugeen Mobility and Regional Transit meeting set for October 7th, 12:30 p.m. At the Hanover Civic Center.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Calling the question, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? It carries. Okay, so we'll have that discussion during new business. All right, Councillor Hamilton, you have an item with respect to the miscellaneous correspondence.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. I'd like to lift the correspondence from Waste Reduction Week Canada to be discussed under new business.
Yes, thank you for doing so. And with regard to this item being pulled, I would be looking for a 2/3 majority at this point, calling the vote so that we can put this over to new business. Correct, Clerk Turner? So I'm calling the vote on pulling the correspondence, which is identified as C1 Waste Reduction Week in Canada. And there's a proclamation date. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. So we definitely have that moving over to new business. Thank you very much. Just moving those over. You'll note our future meeting dates. We are now on part 2, regular agenda. This is item 9, communications from Mayor and Council. Members of Council, I'll start and say that I was absolutely delighted that Minister Fullerton, who's the Minister of Long-Term Care, attended at Rockwood Terrace along with MPP Bill Walker, and there was a tour of the long-term care home as well as a meet and greet. Later on in the day, there was an announcement, which we're absolutely pleased that there will be the redevelopment of the 100 existing beds, as well as the addition of 28 new beds for Rockwood Terrace. What that means, there are next steps, and the next step is to develop a detailed project plan for Rockwood Terrace. And may I say that the reason that I'm not able to attend the visioning that we proposed for the August 8th is because I have a long-term care meeting at Grey County, so I'm respectfully requesting at the appropriate time that that meeting get changed. So thank you very much. Stay tuned, please. I think that's the best I could say right right now, but it's very wonderful. I also would like to say that I attended the Elmwood Fire Department Service Awards, and I expect fully that Councillor Hergert and Deputy Mayor Hutchinson will have more to say on that exciting news. I also attended the 149th Neustadt Fall Fair. Next year is a big year, certainly for Neustadt and District Horticulture Society for the upcoming fair. I also can tell you that I met with a number of citizens during the time from the last council meeting. Councillor Shea, you had a question on my report. I'm intrigued, so please go ahead.
No,
and I will also ask if you would give your report after that.
Sure. I just wanted to congratulate you and the committee, the Long-Term Care Committee, and the citizens and everybody who's lobbied hard to make the Rockwood solution come about. So good job, West Grey and Grey County.
And thank you very much for acknowledging that. There were a number of citizens locally and certainly Grey County overall are citizens, so it very much was a big effort for everyone involved, and there's more work to be done for certain, and we just want to ensure that we have the long-term care homes available for our residents, and that's really important. Grey County has 3 long-term care homes, and I think that is essential. Would you please continue on?
I don't have much to add. Neustadt Fall Fair, meeting with citizens, good couple of weeks.
Yeah, you were very involved in that. Thank you so much. All right, Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mary Robinson. Excuse me, I too attended the long-term care meeting at Rockwood Terrace, and I think the mayor summarized what the events there, so I won't elaborate on that. I will leave a little bit of meat on the platter for Councillor Hergert to share some of the update on the Elmwood fire. It was to recognize several of the volunteers, and that went very successful. Newstead Fair, we've discussed that. And I just want to make reference to the point that our arenas are full because minor hockey is actually kicked off, so it's good to see. I think minor hockey this year has got 18 teams, so.
That's wonderful. Councillor Hergert, please.
Yes, thank you. I also attended the Elmwood Fire Board recognition of the long-term service. Andrew Dancy, Rob Cape, Brent Lifeso, and Ed Stangler, all of them, thank you very much for their volunteerism to their profession and to their community. We really couldn't have a fire department without these volunteers, so thank you very much to all of them. Also, elections are on now for the federal election. We have a location here in Durham at 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Durham Arena. The second floor is where the federal elections will be going on. October 21st is the actual date, but these are the advanced voting times. Neustadt Fall Fair, thank you for everyone at the Ag Society and everyone from the community that came out. We really had a great parade and a wonderful day there. Also, the open house for JDSS is October 3rd. It's coming up this week, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone there.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Townsend, please.
Thank you. The first comment I'd like to make is on the applauding the Grey Bruce for the announcement on what to do with the unused or old medications. I think it's a great practice. We've done it for years. Turn it into your pharmacy. Don't leave it hanging around for anyone to get a hold of. If they break into your home even, right, they can steal it. Little kids can get into it. So do what you can to keep it safe and dispose of it accordingly. As far as the long-term care, as part of the Safe Rockwood Committee, I'll give a huge shout out to that group. They did a heck of a job to first get it back into Durham and West Grey, and then to continue to monitor it. I went to the Rockwood presentation, but that wasn't good enough, to be honest. I went to Owen Sound as well. I wanted to hear the announcement. I was hoping that they would actually announce not only the approval, but the extra 28 beds, which they did. I'll admit it was a bit emotional because, you know, when you fight for something for 4 years, you like to have a good result, and that was. And then I went on to Grey Gables because the minister went there. And so we wanted to support that and show that, you know, we do want to see Grey Gables survive. And the way you do that is with your presence. So it was a long day, fruitful day, but I think very, very much worthwhile. I also went to Cobite Engineering's relocation sort of celebration, and it's a small independent company that is within West Grey, within Hanover, I should say, just to make sure that it's more precise. But they do work for us, and it's good to support them and show that we're interested in their future and progression. The fall fair was amazing in Neustadt. I was even able to scoop the third place peach pie in the auction, so that was great. And I'll tell you, it was really, really good, or at least what hasn't been eaten yet. And JDS, I'll be also going to on Friday or Thursday to celebrate their official opening, because there's a lot of people from West Grey that attend there. So we should acknowledge it. And a last shout out for the Thundercats, who begin their season October the 11th. And their first home game is the 18th. And for those who are interested, a season pass is only $60. And, attend and come and shout out to them and support them. They did well last year, and hopefully they'll continue going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hamilton, please.
Thank you. Well, I had a fabulous time at the Newstead Fall Fair. Really enjoyed participating in the parade and handing out candy to kids young and old and young, young at heart. Enjoyed being at the library booth. We were handing out free books, brand new books to kids, and participated and had some flowers in the exhibits, and enjoyed the sawing with a partner. I had a partner with Callie Greenshields and with Fred Helwig as well, and that was just a blast. So congratulations for a successful fall fair. Looking forward to Wing Night in Elmwood. It's Friday, October 11th, so it's almost always the Friday before a long weekend. So hope to see you in Elmwood. I will be helping out in the kitchen from 5 till 7, and we'll keep cooking wings all night long, but hope to see you there.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yeah, so a couple of events that I was involved in. On September 22nd, which is a week ago Sunday, I believe, there was an open house at one of our gyms in West Grey called Riverstone, and it was a group called Elephant Thoughts. I'm not sure if you're aware of that group, but they're a very, very well-known science education, particular social activist group that are actually looking at purchasing the property, and they're still using it for weddings and events, but they're also looking at doing other things with it. So they had a sort of an open house there, and a number of our local families were there, and it was a neat afternoon. And it's exciting. It's, like I said, it's one of the gems that we have in our West Grey that people do use lots. Excited about the Rockwood announcement. 28 beds to go along with 100. Now all we need is a building. So hopefully that's going to happen soon, and we get to participate in that. Mm-hmm. Terry Fox runs continue in the area. I was yesterday, went to Spruce Ridge where they had in the morning their run for their students there, and they've already done Normanby and St. Peter, St. Paul. I'm not sure if they've had theirs or not already, but it's a very worthwhile cause. Collecting money for cancer research, so I enjoy participating in that. JDSS open house is Thursday, as some people have mentioned. I guess because the mayor's not going to make it there, I'm going to bring official greetings on behalf of West Grey. Maybe something to do with that. My background is in education, and I've worked for them for almost 30 years, so that's an exciting time. And it's neat. It'll be neat to see the new building do some tours there. The public, I believe, the tours for the public are in the evening, but 12:30 is when the tour official opening is going to start, and announcements at that time. And I guess that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, one and all. Members of council, our first delegation is at 10:30. We certainly have a business arising from the previous meeting, and that's dealing with sale disposal of municipal history books. I'm wondering if you would consider just working through the Director of Finance and Treasurer's report on the vouchers. Is that something I think that we could address right away? She is present. All right, so we'll just be moving that along so that we are now dealing with the Director of Finance and Treasurer's report and the approval of voucher number 18-2019. Director, is there anything you'd like to say with respect to the high amount this time, please?
It does include the county and school board levies for the next quarter, and there is some final construction projects, the Bruce Street payment certificate, and some the paving and additional capital projects are also included in there.
Thank you very much for that. Members of council, are there any questions? Councillor Hutchinson, please.
I just have a couple of quick items for our director. On page 52, and I don't normally question our works, public works, but I thought it was interesting that under page 52, the Bolton and Seon, they bought some washer fluid and pre-stone rad coolant. So I'm presuming it must be cases, because one was $646 and the other was $625. So I would hope that that was more than just a few jugs, because it seems fairly expensive.
Yeah, they do buy those in bulk for the various depots. Yeah.
Right. And then another one was, I thought was sort of interesting. I think it's on 62. Not sure what this is about, but apparently we bought a 12-foot Sears aluminum boat, something to do with Newstead Sewer. So I don't know if that's a new surveillance system we're using or what that's all about, but I'm curious what that was for.
Yeah, so that is for the Newstead Sewage Lagoon. There is the windmill that's out there, and if they need to go out onto the water there, they do need to. But yes, so it is a small aluminum boat that for the sewage lagoon.
So it isn't just for recreation, and that's good.
No, not just for fishing.
There you go. Clarification is always necessary. Further questions or comments? Well, I do have a motion before me, and that is moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Shea. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance and Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher 18-2019 in the amount of $1,732,928.52 of the Municipality of West Grey. Questions or comments? I'm now calling the vote on this motion. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. Thank you. That does complete the Director of Finance and Treasurer's report. And we are in very good time for our delegations. But I notice that Councillor Hergert has a comment or question.
Yeah, a comment actually for our director, please.
Absolutely.
I was hoping, now that Normanby Recreation has come to council and received our blessing for the park, I was hoping that we could just start a preliminary finance discussion on that project. We would like to know how much we need to fundraise yet and how much we could expect from the municipality. So just hoping to have the financial documents sent over that they might need for the recreation at Normanby Park.
Director?
Centennial.
This is the playground equipment park?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We just have confirmation. Thank you very much, and that was absolutely appropriate at that time. Well, we're at the delegation time, and thank you and good morning to everyone. It's nice to see you all. Our first delegation is Cheryl Lindsay and Robin Gingrich. Robin. Thank you, Robin. I obviously see you in the audience. We will have that changed, absolutely. And the delegation is in regards to speeding. Thank you very much. Okay, one moment. Probably, but what would be effective is if the mic is used only because it's being recorded for the web and also TV. So just one moment. It's okay. What's the weather like out there now? Like a summer day. Is that right? Wonderful.
Testing.
Okay.
Is it on?
Yes.
There we go. I'm Cheryl Lindsay, and I live on Durham Road East, and Robin lives on Sadler. I'll speak first about Durham Road East, and then I'll pass the mic to Robin. Our concern on our roads is about speeding and traffic. So I started this process on our road about 2 years ago. I did send forth an email, late albeit, but I did send forth an email containing a petition that we had signed about 2 years ago when we started this process. It includes almost every resident on our road. The night I was going out to petition, I went down the hill at the conservation area and was going back up the hill. to start at the other end, and 2 people passed me on that road. So it's currently marked as a 50. It's 50 coming from either direction, but a police officer that lives on our road, whose wife actually runs a home daycare. There's another home daycare on our road, and I also operate a business out of our home on that road. He's clocked people at over 100 kilometers an hour and can't even catch up to them if he's doing radar. Several people that I talked to when I was petitioning said that they've been clipped more than one time. An older lady said she won't walk on that road anymore, and I think she's now moved off the road. Another lady who moved from town to our road to escape the traffic is totally disappointed because she's one of the people who's also been clipped by a passing vehicle. I'm on the road almost every day walking, and it's particularly bad when 2 vehicles are coming at the same time, both directions. The facsimile of the sidewalk that we currently have stretches only a small span on our road, and it's only marked with painted white lines, so you can't walk that road in the winter because they're not visible. And of course the shoulders aren't cleared fully of snow, so then you can't see that facsimile of a sidewalk. Anyway, so our number one concern is the speed and the safety of the people who walk on our road. Last night I was out and I saw 17 pedestrians just walking and 8 other dogs. So it's a well-frequented road, and it deserves some better control of the speed and for sure of the safety. I think we also put forth a document with some of the things that we've tried, looking at educating ourselves, and so far we are at this point now where all we can do is request some changes. Our number one suggestion would be speed bumps. With the new construction now, since we started this petition, makes sense that between the 2 road allowances for the new development going in, there might be some speed bumps there. It's also a bus drop and pickup zone. Almost 20 kids get on the bus in between those 2 road allowances, and that's an extreme safety issue. So the other major suggestion we had was a school bus loading sign in those directions. Am I at my 5 minutes?
Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Robin Rich, and I live on Sadler Street East. Is all the councillors aware of Sadler East and the street that it's on? So my house, I'm living on the end of it that's close to the school in Rockwood Terrace, and I've been living there for 3 years. Speeding is a huge issue on my street. It's become, in my opinion, a speedway. Even though it's marked at 40 kilometers an hour, people drive by there at crazy speeds. It tends to be worse after 5, I would say, kind of rush hour. Weekends are particularly bad. There's one stop sign between Highway 6 and the end of my street, one stop sign. So speeding is bad both at the end closest to Highway 6, so that's from Highway 6 to Kincardine Street. Speeding is bad there, as well as from the Kincardine, which is the corner that the school is on, to the very end. I think the particular problem with my street, or one thing that adds to the speeding problem, is the fact that it's a very open boulevard. It's a wide street. Across from me is the playing field for Spruce Ridge. So I think the perception when you're driving is that it's a bit of a straightaway. So it really almost compels people to go quickly. So I have a petition also from people on my street. I have about 15 signatures agreeing that speeding is a problem. Of course, there are many pedestrians on my streets, school children, of course, people from Rockwood Terrace and Abbeyfield, always about on their walking or on their in their what do you call them? Their rollers, strollers. But even me, just living there, I hate to see people fly by. It's just so annoying, and aside from the danger of it, I mean, this is I chose to live here on this lovely street in this peaceful environment, and so. Another problem is that Sadler is used as a bypass, I believe. So people traveling on Highway 4, traveling west, they use it. They cut off on Rock Street, if you can picture it, and go down. So they're trying to avoid the stoplights. So they go down Rock Street and then down my street and then head south down Highway 6. It's also, I think, used for a lot of people going to Tim Hortons. So it's become a bit of a bypass as well. Also, on the streets, there are posted no truck signs. That is not observed. I've gone and made formal complaints to the West Grey Police Department with the hopes that they might increase their police presence. Not increase, have some police presence. From what I can see, there. So that didn't change anything. I haven't seen any police cars there, except for the one time when councillors Hamilton and Shea were with us in Narda, walking on the street, kind of looking at where things lie, speed limits and stuff. We happened to see a policeman on that particular day. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, it's a clear problem that we have, and some streets are worse than others. And I too agree with Cheryl. I think speed bumps are probably the best solution from what I can see. Obviously, posted speed limits don't make a difference. I understand this is also a problem in other areas, including Neustadt. We have we haven't met him yet, but a fellow by the name of Robert. From Neustadt is also, so anyway, what I'm saying, I guess, is that it's not just a specific one-off here and there. I think it's kind of although I think we need to treat it that way and address it that way initially, but speeding is a big problem. People are in a hurry. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do about it to kind of slow them down? I think it's going to take some physical speed bump, something like that. So, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, both of you, for your delegation. We very much appreciate you attending at council for this. Certainly, speeding is a priority that we have to get addressed, and that is, we appreciate that you're suggesting within your area that you want quality of life, and for whether that's walking a dog or just the piece of not having ramped up engines. I certainly get that, and the identification that speeding is in other parts of West Grey. So it has to be resolved, or it has to be mitigated for certain. Now, what I'm going to suggest, members of council, we do have a discussion in our new business item. It was a notice of motion that was put forward at the September 17th. I'm going to suggest that we could probably have more of a discussion at that point. I don't know by which way that motion will lend itself. Certainly the priority is speeding, but what we can say is that we will address the speeding in one fashion or another. I think that's really important. Certainly I think it was just as early as our last committee, the whole meeting, we had another delegation that was dealing with speeding on Grey Road 3. So we were addressing that with connection of our police chief, obviously, and also Grey County Transportation. So this council's of a mind that they want to address the speeding issues. So thank you very much. I'm just going to come to the table, and yes, there are some comments or questions. So we'll start with Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yeah, so thank you for your presentation. It's interesting that I now presently live on Durham Road East, so I know what you're talking about. I walk that road every day, and sometimes with my grandchildren. And I also used to live on Rock Street, so I know exactly the issues there too. So speeding is an issue. It's not only in our area, it's an issue all over, and even our ministry is starting to look at it and trying to come up with some ideas. I think as a council, we really need to talk to our new director coming in on infrastructure and talk about speed bumps. Speed bumps are interesting. I'm not sure. I know there's been some resistance to use them. It's interesting, though, that when you dig up the tarmac or the asphalt and put gravel down, as we've done in our new development there, it acts as a speed bump. People go slow because they're going to go across gravel now. So maybe we need a few more of those trenches. Maybe that would help. I don't know. But they do work. So that's something we definitely need to look at. And I think too, the other thing with Durham Road East is as we continue on with our development, we are looking at least with the discussion with our last director, was that putting the sidewalk on the north side, getting it off the road, like over top of the ditch or whatever, filling in the ditch, but getting it away from the traffic, because I agree, the traffic being on that sidewalk, that temporary sidewalk that we put in wasn't a great suggestion. It doesn't really work. It puts you right on the line of traffic, and it is dangerous. And we have upwards of, I think I counted 25 students, 25 kids at least on that road that live on that road now. So it is an issue. So hopefully the sooner that we can get a sidewalk built up there, that will help solve that issue. As far as the Rockwood in that area, I think the school zone, I think there is something coming forward in terms of they're looking at photo radar, new signage, changing the speed limits lower, making the speed limits lower. Lots of things coming down the pipe that I think will help us. So yeah, I can relate to exactly what you're saying. I understand it. I have an interest and maybe a conflict, but when it comes to making the final decision, I may have to step back. But anyways, thank you for your presentation, and we will discuss it further.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hamilton, please.
Well, thank you for bringing this to all of council, and as you mentioned, Councillor Hutchison, myself, and Councillor Shea met with some of the citizens on the road, and yeah, it just so happened a police car drove by and actually gave someone a speeding ticket while we were there. We did not plant that. Tried to. But also just to acknowledge that, yeah, we do have this notice of motion coming forward today. It's an idea on the table about forming like a working group that would bring all the different players together to troubleshoot speeding in our community. It's an idea. I also recognize that this has been an ongoing concern for you, and you're looking for solutions that are timely, that could fix your neighborhood quickly. And so maybe there's some short-term solutions and some longer-term solutions. Mm-hmm. And also recognizing that we are in between our directors of public works, and they're going to be an important part of this conversation moving forward. So in terms of sidewalks, like I have a question for the new director about development charges and how they interact with a new sidewalk, for example, up in your community, Cheryl. And we spoke about speed bumps. That would be public works as well. Or Robin, you were speaking about it feeling like a big runway, very open, perhaps. Working with the school board and trees in that one area perhaps will make it feel not so big and open. So there's some different ideas there, and it's going to take some coordination between police and public works and council. And so I guess my next question would be, how will we connect again with our delegation and just keep them in the loop moving forward? What can they expect?
So we would have, certainly if our clerk does not have the contact information, but I expect that he would by virtue of establishing the delegation, but we can have that confirmed. And certainly the communication can be brought forward in terms of what our next steps will be. Certainly the ideas that you attend here and not hear from us further, that is not what we're about, is that you're attending here and we keep you informed in terms of what is being addressed, whether it be another meeting of Committee of the Whole or Council, or whether there will be a staff report brought forward through Public Works and Infrastructure and Police. It would depend on how the matter goes through, but we would always endeavor, in this case for sure, but anybody that comes forward, we will keep them informed. Okay, so Clerk Turner, you've got the connection that you need with the, all right, well thank you. Anything further? Oh yes, Councillor Shea.
Yes, thank you for your delegation. One thing, I think you referred to documents that you prepared and petitions that you collected. I don't know if those were distributed to all of council, were they?
Clerk Turner?
I got one this morning. I emailed that to everyone this morning. I don't have that 15. Okay. But I do have the approximate 73 signatures as Lindsay provided.
And the written submission?
No, I know there was an original email and we're going through dates, but I wasn't aware that I'd got a final submission letter as part of this delegation, but I'll certainly provide this to council.
Thank you.
And
Councillor Hamilton?
So as the clerk mentioned, there was some back and forth as you're setting up the date, and I just, it didn't hit the agenda. But it's not too late. It could still be circulated to council through our clerk. Yes.
Yes, and might I, with respect to the second petition, we would absolutely appreciate receiving that. Thank you very much. Councillor Shea.
Yeah, the documents that I saw were very thorough and impressive in terms of identifying the problems and identifying possible solutions as well. I think there's a plan, a long-term plan to redevelop Durham Road East. It's always been seen as something that's in transition. So once it's reconstructed, it could be reconstructed in such a way that might have some traffic calming measures like pop-outs and things that just naturally slow traffic. Speed bumps certainly seem like an option as well. Also increased number of stop signs could help, especially down on Sadler Street, to make it a less attractive bypass. You know, people are taking that to avoid the light, as you say, because it's a shortcut and it's quicker. So a couple more stop signs would just perhaps dissuade those people. As mentioned, there will be a motion being considered later in the day. It's a shame that it's at the very end of the meeting. Otherwise, I'd invite you to hang around for 4 hours and see when we discuss that motion. In it, we'll be considering whether or not to create some sort of a working group that will include participation by the police, who are involved in the business of enforcement, and public works, who are involved in the business of engineering, and council and the rest of staff who are involved in the business of education. And all three of those strategies, I think, have to be applied to this problem. And rather than working in silos and having, you know, police do the best that they can and have public works doing the best that they can, you know, if we participate and communicate, you know, with vested interests like yourselves, I think we'll come up with better solutions if we put all of our resources together. So I'm planning to support that. We'll have discussion and we'll decide when the motion comes forward. But it seems like a step in the right direction towards addressing your concerns. And we'll keep you posted.
Thank you very much. Councillor Herker, please.
I'll be brief. Cheryl and Robin, I was hoping that we could invite you to join this working group, but we got to wait till we establish.
All right, Councillor Townsend.
Just following up on comment by Councillor Hutchinson, I know the police services are also sort of petitioning or working with the with the provincial legislation, because they're not allowed to actually use photo radar at this point and collect fines. And so you can post that, you know, they're speeding and therefore they should slow down, but there's no penalty if they don't. So if that comes, you know, about and becomes an option that starts to hit people in the pocketbook, I think you'll see that province-wide drop as a speeding issue. But just so you know, it's out there, and I'm sure it'll come up in our discussion this afternoon.
Yep, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you for your delegation and commitment to this obviously huge issue. I think it's not isolated to West Grey. I travel throughout Ontario for business. I'm into the States, so it's widespread everywhere. People are in a rush regardless. I think you know, you've got some good recommendations for like speed bumps. Again, Councillor Townsend suggested the radar. I know that those are things and incentives or things that the chief is looking into. He has kind of brought that to our attention. Other than that, I guess what I'd like to see is maybe some further discussion later on in the day, and we'll take it from there. I just wanted to thank you for your time and commitment to this.
Good, thank you. Is that everyone now? All right, well, thank you very much for your delegation. It's very much appreciated. Okay. We do have another delegation, and that is Don Tremble, and this is regarding Canadian Lemco Association property. Mr. Tremble, did you want to go to the podium or use the hand mic? Yes, please.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes.
So how long do I get, an hour?
How about 15 minutes?
What first of all, I'd like to, I'm going to take a short time, and then Dennis didn't get on the agenda. If he could take 5 minutes, I take 5 minutes, we'll be out of here. So I was, on September 29th, I received a letter from Mark saying that West Grey had got legal advice on this, and no further we're going to pursue it, and asking if LUBCO wanted to join into a voluntary site plan agreement. So kind of alarmed because I got houses closed. So I had to go get legal advice. And his question is me today, can you divulge what grounds they say that you guys aren't going to go ahead and do that, or is that?
So I was just quickly checking with the clerk just to confirm the answer that we would provide. We're not able to give any response, but what I can tell you is, because it's before our lawyer, but what I can tell you is that your delegation will certainly be forwarded on to the lawyer.
Okay, so all councillors got this letter that I received?
Clerk Turner, could you confirm yea or nay to that, please?
No, it was only sent to the 3 individuals requested to do so.
Okay, also a little bit too, there's 25 lots sold out there, and I went out and talked to them this week. Nobody else knows anything about this. They're all like saying, no, there's no trailer park staying there. Like we bought on the, we checked at West Grey about the zoning. We did all our homework. So I think we better make it more public and let people know. I think what Tom and them have done is unbelievable. I've never seen an estate subdivision what's going to look like this when it's all said and done. I don't know if you guys have been out there and seen, there's a lake out there, there's going to be 60 houses. This is like one of a kind. And I think that the trailers could really give it a sour note in a lot of people's face, but we'll leave that. The other thing is, when he came here and spoke, just a few little things my lawyer sent to me yesterday was, if you go on the LUBCO site themselves, they advertise on here that you can come there for the weekend and stay and pay $10 a person for a tent and parking. Nowhere does their whole website ever say anything about trailers, and they hauled in tons of trailers. So they're saying one thing and advertising on their site another way. The other thing, when he stood here and said they're just dumping gray water out, totally illegal. You can't just dump gray water out onto the ground, again, because it runs on other people's property. They're all drilled wells out there. And I have a hard time believing if you're in your trailer at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to get up and walk to a washroom 1,000 feet away. Like, that's just, I wouldn't let my wife do it or my children do it. I would use the toilet in my new trailer. And they said about decades. 1982 was when the bylaw was brought out. 1986, 87 was their first party. And all the pictures, if you go on their website, showed no trailers, no nothing. Trailers showed up in the early 90s. And now, like, it's not like they said decades. There's still a couple of trailers that are decades, but the rest of them are all brand new. So, and is it going to be, there's 9 there now. When they had the party, they said there was as many as 30 there. Are they going to be able to have 9? Did they get this passed? Or are we going to be able to have 90? I'm just not sure. And when they went for their original zoning, they went open space. Nowhere did they ever ask for trailers at that time. So why do they need trailers now if they didn't need it back when they did their zoning? So I'm just wondering that way. I'm in a legal thing right now. I have 2 houses. I have one house closed with a holdback, because I wrote right in my deal the trailers be moved. And the second one, I have a deposit sold house that I can't do anything with, because I'm not going to go ahead and build the house, and I'm delaying them, because if the trailers aren't going to be gone, I'm going to be held liable. So I just don't know where we stand. They pay $1,300, $1,700 a year taxes. 57 new places out there probably going to pay $8,000 a piece. It's just it just kind of, and before I bought the lands, I come and talked to Brent and talked to Mark, and they said, no, it's zoned open space, no trailers. That's what I went on. And 2 weeks ago, Laura, I talked to you. You said you had a text saying the trailers were going to be moved. You received a text from your bylaw, or I don't know who just wondering if you'd share that with us too.
Yes,
thank you for the question. And through you, Madam Mayor, the bylaw officer confirmed to me that she had a trailer moved off of, I believe it was your property, because it was encroaching. So she had it moved but not removed.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I just, Again, I hate fighting West Grey because I live here and I'm going to pay the taxes, but I can't fight these guys because the legal battle is with you guys, not them. And I just don't want it to be a, you know, it almost deters me to want to go out there and do houses, but I don't want to punish Tom and them. I bought the first house and the first lot in there, and they sold 25 within 2 months. So that's, my lawyer just said, like I said, we can get information, but I guess we'll proceed from here, or if I hear back from you is here. I spent $1,000 already this week just to get this letter and stuff. I just don't want to go spend a lot of money and then end up in a, you know, it's bad for me. I live here. Suing my own township, it just doesn't do good for my business, nor my moral. But that's all I got, and Dennis can take it from here.
So I just want to say before the next delegation, because it's important for us to communicate with you, and that is that we appreciate that you're here on that delegation, and we're just not able to respond back to you, and as you know, because it's within legal. But thank you very much for the information you provided.
Should all the other homeowners all in the area all be told about this, and not kept in the, like, there's a lot of people in the area that I've talked to. There's 25 lots sold. I talked to Brian Hasty. Nobody knows nothing of it. They're all thinking it's going to be cleaned up.
Yeah, I'm just confirming because
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
not able to provide a response, but I want to be able to make this a positive experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is that all I could say, and it is a reiteration, but that your questions and your comments will be forwarded to the lawyer, so that they will be addressed.
Okay, and I'll just.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. One last.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I said that. And just if you could go out there as a counselor and look at the house I built on the corner, and it was a $600,000 house, and just picture yourself owning that house and coming here and retiring and walk in your backyard and have a look and just tell me what you would think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tremble.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As most of you know, I'm Dennis Graham. I'm a lifetime resident and businessman in West Grey. My company has made a significant investment in Forest Creek Estates. We currently own 12 lots that will be developed into residential housing in the very near future. I'm here also to object to Council's decision to allow the campground and recreational trailers on the lands owned by Lemco that adjoin the Forest Creek properties. The campground and recreational trailers are hindering the sale of adjoining homes and potentially devaluating property values. So I have 3 questions and a statement. We delivered a formal written notice of complaint regarding the trailers on May 31st, 2019 from our lawyer, which was Dean Lifeso. To date, he has never had a reply from West Grey. I'm just wondering why that is. I've only been apprised of the things that have happened here through others. So that's just one question that I have. Also, we own lots 14, 15, and 16. Adjoining lots 17 and 18 are owned by Mr. Colas, the president of the Lemco Association, and the presenter of the recent deputation to the council. These lots also have trailers on them and have had for several years. And what will the council do to remove these, if anything? And then thirdly, we'd like some clarification on the second last sentence in the clerk's letter of September 25th, where it says that West Grey will be inviting the owner of the property to voluntarily enter into a site plan agreement that will govern the ongoing use of the trailers at the property. One can only surmise from this statement that there is no obligation or requirement for Lemco to do anything but continue with an illegal, non-conforming campground and trailer park. I wonder what other conforming campgrounds in West Grey would feel about that. We've also researched various items relating to the history and the use of trailers on the Lemco property. And we have also sought legal advice, and according to our lawyer, the trailers are not entitled to the benefit of legal non-conforming use as described in the clerk's letter. So it is our intention to take whatever legal action is necessary to have the trailers removed from the subject property. You know, being a lifetime resident, you know, I feel like Don. I don't want to come after West Grey, but I can't come after Lemco. I have a significant investment, and I need to protect the investment. And based on the fact that this is still an illegal place, then I'm going to have to do what I have to do. Harry Coolin and Tom Jensen, who couldn't be here today, and are owners of the subdivision and Jayco Developments, also asked me to inform council that they will also be taking legal action. And I find it a bit concerning that the rest of the councillors don't have a copy of this letter when the delegation was on the agenda. So it would be nice if everybody was fully informed, as Don mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Graham, thank you very much for being here and for your delegation. We appreciate that. Okay. Councillor Herger? Yes, if you wish.
Mr. Graham, you had mentioned that your lawyer, maybe, I'm referencing the lawyer, but your legal opinion was that there was no basis for legal non-conforming. Would you be able to share that legal opinion with us?
I think that I'm of the same position that the council is. So, you know, I guess where that would be shared would be in the court if it gets to that stage. So, I think if we want to share with each other, that's not going to happen. Sorry.
Anything further?
Worth a try.
Yeah, worth a try.
Well, thank you very much for your delegation. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, so that does conclude the delegations for today. We are now at this point going on to item 11, which is business arising from the previous meeting. And what's identified in this agenda is the sale/disposition of municipal history books. I'm considering this might be a very quick item, but Councillor Hergert, would you like to start this off?
I know we've jumped to the sale of the history books. I was curious, could we go to the delegation that has just happened? And that was at a previous meeting. I was curious if we could all be circulated, all of council be circulated on that letter that was just referenced.
Clerk Turner?
That's council's wish. Certainly it is a confidential matter, so if it is shared, obviously you cannot share that with anyone else. So I will do that if council wishes it.
All right, question? Council?
I do wish that.
Am I saying yes? Yep, that would be confirmed
Council's
then.
authorization.
All right, council's giving that authorization.
Okay, so now on to history books.
Now we are on to item 11, which is business arising, and it is the sale and disposition of the municipal history books.
Okay, so there's been some discussion down in Ayton about the compilation of a new history book. And that being said, there are several stacks of history books down in the basement. I wasn't sure if there was any movement from council wishing to dispense, get rid of, dispose of those history books, being possibly to the libraries, to new residents, to, you know, just anybody that would need a copy of one of our history books. But on a move forward basis, I think that historically they had all been done in the former townships,
Yes.
and maybe moving forward we could have a West Grey whole history book. So I don't have any motion to make on this or any proposal. I just wanted to bring it forward for council to refresh and think about.
So a couple exciting things in what you're saying, and whether that is a comprehensive West Grey history book, that's kind of exciting to think about. Certainly staff have been dealing with the history books for various reasons, and in fact I do know they're at Grey Roots, which is pretty exciting. So if there's no action, then maybe just at some point there can maybe be an email circulated just in terms of the efforts that have been taken. Would that suffice? Or can you just elaborate on what's been taking place to date for the books? We're not looking at any action from council, but just perhaps a little information.
Basically, there was the three, Normanby, Bentinck, and Durham. We sell about, the last 3 years, on average, about 10 Normanby books a year, and we probably sell about 20 Bentinck and Durham books on the average in the last 3 years. The Bentinck had raised enough funds that the loan at the time was fully paid off. Normanby and Durham, the balances hadn't been paid off entirely with the sales of the books. But they're currently half price. homecomings. We made arrangements with homecoming committees to split the proceeds and sell them during the homecomings. We also, over the years, have also done a similar arrangement with Ag Society the 1 year. And we previously had them out in the entranceway. We can try to get another display out, maybe as it gets closer to the Christmas season, to promote the books as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, for that, are we moving on into the governance portion? Councillor Townsend, please.
Just in case you don't know, Carrie, there's a homecoming meeting on October 23rd, and it might be worth speaking to Harriet Mitchell, just to remind her that maybe that can come up at that meeting if I forget.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hutchinson.
Yeah, I was going to mention that also, but I'm just curious, what's our inventory of each, do you know?
I don't have that, but we can certainly take a quick inventory, but I don't have that right at this moment.
Okay, and I do like the idea of giving a book, if we end up with a large surplus like we seem to have, giving books to new residents sort of thing to bring them up to speed, what's happened in the past maybe in the area. So that's one option, I guess.
Thank you very much. All right, so we'll appreciate this item being on the agenda. All right, with that, we'll move to item 12. We have one more staff report. This is the clerk's report, report CR 10/01/19. There is one item, which is the Municipality of Chatham-Kent. Clerk Turner?
So the Municipality of Chatham-Kent Council is seeking support for expressing to the province its opposition to funding cuts for legal aid in Ontario. So I do have a motion if council wishes to entertain one.
Council, how do you wish to proceed on this, if anything? Is there anyone that wishes to address this matter? Councillor Townsend?
Do we have any statistics on the use of legal aid within West Grey or Grey County?
Do you have any idea?
I do not have any statistics, no.
Okay, because I believe that everyone should have an equal opportunity to have access to those types of resources. So, yeah, I would move the motion for sure.
The motion has gone down
right
your
here.
way. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay. So, thank you very much for the motion. The motion reads, moved by Councillor Townsend, seconded by Councillor Hergert, resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby supports the resolution of the Municipality of Chatham-Kent expressing opposition to funding cuts imposed on Legal Aid Ontario by the provincial government and calling on the province to make a commitment to access to justice and not to decrease frontline services, and further that a supporting letter be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, Attorney General, and local MPPs. Comments? I am asking for a vote on this motion. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. Thank you very much, Clerk Turner. That does complete the clerk's report. We are now on the proposed bylaws for first, second, and third reading. Pardon me? Oh, Clerk Turner, please.
So the first bylaw is bylaw 67 of 2019 to enter into a winter maintenance agreement with Owen Sound Highway Maintenance Limited. So it was deferred. There has been some previous discussion by Council or Committee of the Whole, and there was some direction to get comment from the municipal insurer. So the former Director of Infrastructure had sent an email to Tony Camiso out of Frank Cowan Company. Unfortunately, there was no response. I emailed Mr. Camiso late yesterday, again seeking some response, and I do actually have a response just received today when I just checked while we're deliberating here. Mr. Camiso has indicated or made some recommendations. Among them, he is recommending that the municipality require the contractor to add the municipality as an additional insured to the liability policy. And as well, he notes that there is no indemnification clause in the agreement. They would recommend the municipality include an indemnification clause where the contractor agrees to indemnify the municipality from damages arising out of the contractor's negligence in performing the services, and he's provided some sample wording. And so that's his 2 comments. So we have the bylaw before you. However, if council wishes those items to be brought back to the proposed contractor for possible inclusion in the bylaw, I guess this will need to be deferred. The contract was to commence October 15th, and of course it's regarding winter maintenance. We haven't been hit by snow yet. I guess Alberta has in other areas, but we do have an October 15th council meeting, which potentially could come back if they agree to that. So I guess I'd be looking to council direction on this bylaw initially.
How do we wish to proceed? Councillor Hergert, then Councillor Shea.
I absolutely believe that we need to be named as an additional insured and have the indemnification clause as per our advice from our insurance company. And I think that we could possibly have this agreement include those 2 and it be passed as amended. Therefore, it just really leaves it up to IMOS to accept our indemnification and additional insured clause.
Clerk Turner, I was wondering the same thing. Could
I think that's a very good option. So yes, obviously if they don't agree to it, it'll have to come back in a different format.
Yeah.
But yes, that would be appropriate.
Perfect. That's a very good working solution. Councillor Shea, please.
Didn't we approach the contractor about having the named insured option and they resisted? Or was that a different contract I'm thinking of?
Clerk Turner.
I do recall, I know the former director had included in the last version a clause to that effect. I can't recall if there was some pushback from the contractor, but
I thought that's what was presented to us at the last meeting, that that language had been rejected by the contractor.
If that's the case, then I suppose if council insists, then I'm not sure what the options are. If they don't agree to it, what the options are for maintenance.
Yeah, if we get snow earlier. So let's try to resolve this in one way or another. Councillor Townsend.
2 things. First of all, I'd go back to the insurance company and ask why they're recommending what they are. I agree with it, by the way, but get their perspective and get them perhaps to tell you the risk that we're taking if we don't have them in there from their perspective. I think that's a fair question back to them. Second of all, we don't have to wait till the 15th. We can always call a special meeting if we need to, if it becomes that critical, rather than just letting it take a couple of weeks to process. But if we get the answers quick enough, and then maybe it's not just sending the contract back, but actually having a conversation with IMOS and explaining to them why and what advice we've got and the risk that they're asking us to take for action that they would do. So for example, we're saying negligence. We're talking about them creating property damage. We're not talking about property damage that we do or that we create, right? We're actually talking about their employees or contractors, whichever status they have, of actually doing something that's inappropriate, and why would we take on that for them having hired the people who we don't know? So that's a couple of options that we can approach.
All right, thank you. Clerk Turner and then Councillor Hergert.
So just having more time to read the email from Mr. Canizo, there is another recommendation which says that because this risk is mainly an automobile liability risk, we would also recommend the municipality consider raising the automobile liability limit. He does not state or recommend what that limit would be, but that's another communication or suggestion.
All right, Councillor Hergert.
Well, I think that we need to bring in our insured and have this discussion, because this company has actually serviced this hill for several years. So this isn't a new risk. This is, is there some sort of change in our policy that we would have to take this organization on to do business with us? I don't really see that being the case. So I think if IMOS is not agreeable to these changes, then we need to have a conversation between the insurance company and their principals.
Okay. So how are we proceeding? Is there any, Councillor Herger?
So if IMOS would not agree to these three things, if that was the case where they were not agreeable before, then I think we need to have a discussion and sit down with our insurance company and IMOS to figure out who's going to take that liability.
So with respect to the bylaw, are you, in your earlier comment, in terms of you're potentially suggesting that we look to approve it with the additions of, I'm going to say, for lack of a better term at this point, the 3 reference points that the clerk has identified, and so that if there is a mover and seconder for this bylaw, and then take it to IMOS and see if they wish to proceed. Is that the action you wish at this point? And then also have the discussion with the insurance?
Yes, I would like the bylaw to include those 3 additional items from Tony Camiso, our insured. And if IMOS is not agreeable to that, then there should be a sit-down meeting about who's going to take that liability on.
So moved then. Are you seconding that, Councillor Townsend? Okay, is there any further discussion or clarification on that? All right, the clerk is just going to prepare the motion to that effect, and then I will have that read out in the record. So as the clerk is preparing that, I'm just going to transfer the chair to the deputy mayor at this point. So I'm going to hold on to the chair. Clerk Turner.
So if I just craft the motion just to say passed as amended, or do you want it within the motion, the reasoning, or I can reflect that in the minutes in that bylaw?
I would like it passed as amended, naming the West Grey as an additional insured, providing the indemnification clause and the increase to the insurance part. Okay. All 3 of them identified, but it could just be as amended, right? It's as amended, and those are the 3
I will note the 3 right in the body of the minutes.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And seconder? Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Sorry, in the motion, not in the minutes.
You want the 3 paragraphs as suggested right in the motion?
Into the motion, please.
All right, so I will have to craft that. I know what those requirements are, so.
Okay. So are there any, I will retain the chair. Are there any other comments on this? Councillor Shea?
Given that we've had this arrangement and presumably this same template contract in past years, I'm not really sure why we're making such a big deal of this. If you ask insurance companies what you think we should do, they will always say you should get more insurance from the other party. So my inclination would be to accept the contract as is, but whichever way we go, I'm fine with.
Fair enough. Councillor Townsend, Councillor Herger, and then...
Since we've been in our chairs since December, we've come across a few areas where we've noticed gaps and we've corrected them. So the fact that we uncover a risk doesn't mean that we continue to accept it if there's an opportunity to close it. We've done that with other agreements that have come to us when they haven't been 100% acceptable, and in many cases we've made changes. And so has the other party. They've been agreeable to them. So I think just because it's been there doesn't justify allowing it to stay, and I think it's definitely worth the effort to make sure that we close any gaps. The insurance company is not asking us to get more insurance. I think what they're saying is that they're driving, they're the people that are going to have the issue, and therefore they should be covered under them, not us, because it will fall to us. And once we start getting claims that really we shouldn't be paying, it'll only affect our premiums and other things that we really don't want to incur. So I think we're being responsible to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend. Councillor Herger.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I'm not sure that last year or any of the preceding years we would have had an insurance company qualify the contract. So I think that this year we're doing things a little different, and because of that, I second Councillor Townsend's comments.
Okay, I think at this point, if I might, I'm going to have the clerk read the motion into the record, and then we will address the motion before us. Clerk Turner, please.
So I believe Councillor Herger moved the motion.
That's
and
correct.
Councillor Townsend seconded it.
Yes.
Be resolved that that bylaw number 67 of 2019, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a winter maintenance services agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and Integrated Maintenance and Operational Services, Inc., brackets IMOS, operating under the name of Owen Sound Highway Maintenance Limited, brackets repeals bylaw number 108 of 2018, Be now read a first, second, and third time passed as amended to incorporate the requests from Municipal Solicitor Frank Cowan Company to include that the municipality will be added as an additional insured to the liability policy, that the automobile liability limit be raised to amount recommended by the municipal insurer, and that there is an indemnification clause added where the contractor agrees to indemnify the municipality from damages arising out of the contractor's negligence in performing the services. And Mr. Comiso has provided a sample clause to that effect, which would be incorporated and sent to IMOS.
Okay, and just for clarification, it was Frank Cowan Municipal Insurer, not legal. That's just a...
Frank Cowan Company Limited.
Yep.
And that the bylaw be numbered and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book.
Okay, are we ready to proceed on that? All right, thank you for all your directions. I would turn my head in that direction, obviously. Councillor Hutchinson.
I just have a concern if how long this is going to take by the time we go back to the insurance companies now and whatnot. My concern is that we have snow tomorrow. Is our public works ready to take on this hill? Because you can't leave that hill unattended. So I would like to suggest that we make sure that public works, they're probably aware that if we get a snowstorm before the 15th, which is when this contract starts, that they're going to have to look after it unless our previous contractor does without having a contract. I don't know if the contract runs 15th to the 15th. Yeah, whether it's a yearly contract.
Clerk Turner or Madam
Are they still under contract for that hill?
Contract looks like October 15th to April 30th.
Okay. So
we don't have anybody on standby. So just to make our public works aware that there could be an issue there if something happens.
Councillor Hergert, nothing? All right, so we're all clear on what the motion is. I am calling into question, or I'm not calling into question, I'm calling the motion before us. All those in favor? 2, 3, 4. Those opposed? It does carry. Thank you. Okay, we're on a proposed bylaw number 73-219. I'll just wait for that. Oh, it needs to go down here. All right. This is the first one. All right. 273. As you're reviewing those, I would just call your question because just call to your attention that I am going to call the vote on proposed bylaw 73-2019, members of council. This one is moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Hutchinson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 73-2019 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a site plan control agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and Jonathan Danielle Eckert and Aitken Custom Framing Limited be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, engrossed in the bylaw book, and that is Aitken Custom Framing Limited, just for clarity. Clerk Turner, is there any comment you wish to make on this?
So the agreement has been vetted through the solicitor, municipal planner, Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority and Grey County Planning Department, who all have agreed to it, and they have also been advised of dark sky matters, and they say they would attempt to address that.
Thank you, Mayor, very much for that. Any comments? Councillor Hutchinson.
I'm just wondering, is there a need or a desire for us to have access to these site plan agreements, like to see what's being recommended or what? I'm just curious. I don't remember. I know we're talking about a couple in there, but we're not really aware of what's in them. I don't know if something we should be aware of.
Yeah, I think those are fine-tuning things. Clerk Turner? I mean, as we move forward, perhaps, we've got this one before us, but Clerk Turner for comments on it in any way?
I gather if council wishes every site plan agreement to come before them, committee of the whole, before it comes to council, that will certainly create a delay, and which is fine if that's what you require. But I do know a lot of these individuals are anxious to get going on their buildings, and but that's up to council. But there will be a delay in approvals and in construction if that's the way it'll go.
You still have the floor.
So maybe going forward, it's something we can take a look at and see how onerous it is, maybe a summary or something. I'm just thinking when we talked about the, when we had the one north of town, when we talked about the auction place, and we had some questions and concerns, and we had to go back and look at the site plan agreement, what was in it, and that, so we weren't totally, up to speed, I guess, especially if they've completed it, sort of thing. So some way of keeping us informed, that's all I'm asking.
So I think that is absolutely worthwhile, Councillor, and I would expect we could have that discussion at Committee of the Whole Planning, see how we can unfold that. Certainly awareness and information is what this council is about, and I think you speak to that quite eloquently. So certainly Clerk Turner, and then I'll acknowledge you.
So I know there was a request to discuss site plan agreements at an upcoming Committee of the Whole Planning meeting. I was looking at October. It is a very busy day. If the committee doesn't mind being here till 5 o'clock or so, then we do have some substantive issues. We have 5 public meetings, so I wasn't sure if I may delay it to November, but then of course the November planning is dealing with affordable housing, which is going to take some time, and maybe some other matters. So I may put it on the agenda if there's time to look at it. I won't be able to do any report on it. There's just no time for me to do that. I am very busy and just trying to get by here, to be honest.
We're not looking at rushing and jamming our agendas. We want to ensure that the placement of our items are appropriate, and not only for workload of staff, but also for discussion and deliberation from council and anybody in the audience or our citizens who wish to be in the audience. So it's not to rush something on the agenda, but to just acknowledge that it should have a placement on it, and that we would have that additional discussion. Now, I do have the motion read into the record. We haven't voted on it. I have Councillor Townsend and then Councillor Shea.
I'm wondering, going through all the site plan agreements doesn't seem to me to be a good use of our time when staff is doing it. But if there was a checklist, for example, and maybe this is something eScribe will eventually solve for us, but if there was, and it's just a matter of when you get the request, you have to check off of which areas that are actually being concerned about, that we need to have control of, if you will, drainage, whatever, water protection, water source protection, those kind of things would be important. And if we do that, then it should be a fairly simple process to look at. And I'm assuming staff would enforce them, not us. So it would only come to us after the fact if there's an issue, but at least we'd be familiar where the concerns are.
Yeah, I mean that's very positive. I'm one that really likes flow charts, so that we can see a process flow chart and where exactly we are in that process at any given time. But we'll take a look at it. It's a positive step forward, Councillor Hutchinson, for sure. On your comment, Councillor Shea, please.
I didn't quite understand your comment. Did you say you wanted to see site plan agreements before they're approved, or you wanted to see an inventory of our existing site plan agreements?
Just to see the plan, so we're aware of what the criteria is, whether it's trees, whether it's drainage, what's in it, sort of thing, so that we're sort of aware that, and then, as you said, maybe a checklist to see that things get checked off. I don't know, maybe it's too onerous, maybe it's something we need to discuss in the future, but I don't want to make it too onerous for staff either, so.
But this one shows us that, doesn't it? Yes.
Clerk Turner?
Well, there is a site plan which shows any landscaping detail. I guess that would be relevant discussion in the site plan agreement, what exactly you want in there. And it will vary depending on the development. Again, whether you want certain kind of landscaping, trees, etc. But it may differ. Like you could have a commercial use right next to a residential, so therefore you may want some fencing or trees, but maybe if it's next to commercial industrial use, maybe it's not really as needed.
Well, this one seems quite thorough. It indicates new fences, swales, trees, concrete block walls. Like, it's all the detail that I need. It would be in here.
Yeah, I agree. Now looking back at this one, this is fine. And there's another one we talked about in there, but I'm just thinking overall, generally, we don't always get it, sort of thing. So just so that we're aware of what's being promoted, that's all.
Yep, that's clarity. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so Councillor Townsend, before I read the motion.
I agree that there's a site plan on here. What I don't know from this is what is under control and what isn't in the site plan agreement. All I know is that this is what they're going to do, and I don't know what the areas of concern are. If drainage or water source protection, for example, was there, I'd be a little more attentive. You know, it may not show specifically here sufficient detail to tell you that. But anyway, that's why I was suggesting doing it. But I agree, it's pretty comprehensive on what's being built. I just don't know what portion we're saying needs to be controlled explicitly. So.
Okay, we're always striving for better, and thank you very much, Councillor Hutchinson, for the idea. Are we at a point where I can go for the vote on this, for however you wish to deal with it? It's been moved and seconded. It has been read into the record. Does anybody need it a second time to be read? All right, then I am going to ask for to call the question on this particular motion. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. Thank you. That moves us through to bylaws. Clerk Turner. Draft bylaw 74-2019. Yes. Moved by Councillor Shea, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 74-2019, being a bylaw to appoint a building inspector for the Municipality of West Grey, and in brackets Jordan Cook, end of bracket, be now read first, second, and third time passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Questions, Councillor Hergert?
Because this does allow a building inspector, like their approval, their authority permits them to go into people's homes, I was curious if we have had a background check on this individual, so might I ask the CAO through you?
Yes, you might, and Madam CAO.
Thank you for the question, Councillor, and through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, that has been completed.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Further questions? All right, we are going to now vote on the bylaw, draft bylaw before us. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. Thank you. So draft bylaw 75. Yes, moved by Councillor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Be it resolved that bylaw number 75-2019, being a bylaw to appoint officials to the various committees for the Corporation of the Municipality of West Grey, bracket repeals bylaw number 113-2018, end of bracket, be now read a first, second, and third time passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Clerk Turner, was there a comment from you at this stage?
I think I noted in my consent agenda report that the only change is adding Councillors Shea and Hamilton to the Sustainability Advisory Committee.
Okay, thank you very much. Further questions or comments? Councillor Hergert.
You have an indication from Scott Forrester that Courtney Granger is no longer on the Newstat Recreation Advisory Committee, and it's Courtney Morton. Granger Morton.
Okay.
Yeah, this is currently the officials, the citizens bylaw is the next bylaw for discussion.
Yeah, okay.
This is only the council appointment.
Thank you very much.
Fair enough. Anything further? All right, with regard to the motion before us, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. Thank you very much. This is proposed bylaw number 76. Moved by Councillor Hergert, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Be it resolved that bylaw number 76-2019, being a bylaw to appoint citizens to various committees of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Grey, bracket repeals bylaw number 30-2019, end of bracket, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Clerk Turner, please.
And certainly maybe a reason for the confusion, as I also noted, bylaw 76 was to appoint officials as well, and that should have read citizens, although the resolution reflects citizen appointments. And the one amendment I have is that to remove Lindsay Glazier from the West Grey Public Library Board. So I anticipate there might be some changes as well. There usually are, so if council has any more suggestions or amendments.
So the clerk is referring to, on our bylaw, it does, or rather our agenda, for bylaw 76, the word officials rather than citizens was there, and also that was it. So just for clarity. So, all right, so Councillor Shea, then Councillor Herger.
So I do note some of these appointments do include officials and citizens. So the West Grey Police Service Building Committee includes Laura Johnson, Rob Martin, and Carrie Mighton. I think they should be indicated that they're something other than volunteers.
Agreed.
Because we do have some staff who do sit on other committees as volunteers. So we don't want confusion about that.
Very good. That's a good fine-tuning, because it's not only citizens, there's staff, and I completely agree. That's a fine-tuning approach.
I had some other
Go ahead.
points. There was the one about Courtney Granger Nelson. I think she resigned at a point when I wasn't going to all the meetings, when Stephanie was still going to the meetings. But I think we'll find it in the minutes probably that she has resigned.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask council and staff, that when council is aware, are we looking for a resolution or something out of the committee minutes or a letter of resignation? Clerk Turner, please, to your point.
When there are individuals that no longer want to participate, yes, if that was brought to my attention, we can do a resolution. Well, if they're to be added, we can do a resolution to add them, and then through time, when the bylaw needs updated, when there's sufficient changes, we'll add it. But any rescinding of an appointment has to be done by bylaw, not resolution. So certainly if Ms. Granger Morton is no longer on that committee, that can be removed as part of this amendment.
Okay.
So I will remove that.
Somebody would have to look through the minutes, because I wasn't present when there were some minutes that said, the committee has received her resignation.
Okay,
but
well, I will remove her name.
I can look into that if you like, to confirm.
That's fine. I'll remove her name regardless.
Okay.
If that's...
I thought we had some people apply to be on this committee. I thought Liz McKenzie put forward an application to be on this committee.
Madam CAO.
And we looked at the latter committee of the whole.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not aware of Ms. McKenzie's application to this committee. I do note that she's on the Commercial Beautification Committee and the Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Maybe it was those two.
Yes.
Okay.
And we've captured her.
Thank you.
Okay. I know there is another member who attended at the last Newstat Rec meeting who wanted to be on, and he attended as a potential applicant, but I guess, and I have sent him the links for applying, but I guess it just hasn't come through yet. So I'll be bringing that forward in the future.
Sure. It's a living document.
Yep.
Further, Councillor Shea?
I was going to say his name, but it'll take me a second to find it.
Perhaps
Jerry Lynch.
you wouldn't want to say his name at this stage.
No? Okay, I retract that.
Timing is everything, for sure.
Okay.
Councillor Shea, anything further?
Maybe, but not right now.
Okay, fair enough. Councillor Herger.
Okay, so if I could ask either the clerk or our CAO to articulate how it works for a member of the public joining our committee or being rescinded from our committee, I would appreciate that. I know that it definitely includes an application, and I'll let the professional speak on that.
Okay, for sure. This would be the appropriate time. Why don't we start with the clerk, please?
So when applications come through, they're dealt with in closed session because they're personal matters about unidentifiable individuals. So council will basically determine whether or not that individual should be appointed to that committee, and then if so, then a bylaw will come forth, or maybe even a resolution initially. For any rescinding of appointments, typically it's the individual themselves that indicate that they no longer want to serve. So if that's communicated either directly to myself or somebody else in the office, or if it's communicated through the council rep that individual does not no longer wishes to serve, or I believe on occasion if the committee itself, maybe there's an individual that has really not attended any of the committees, they may recommend that that individual appointment be rescinded because of maybe quorum issues, for instance.
Madam CAO, is there anything further? Okay. You're fine? Okay. Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yeah, so I believe under the West Grey Parks and Recreation Durham Committee, there has been some changes there. I don't know if you've received official notification, like I thought Callie Greenshields had come off.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I hadn't received that officially. However, I did receive a resignation from Susan Papineau, so we should be making that correction.
Okay.
My
All right.
apologies.
So I believe there's a meeting this week, so maybe we'll have to get that updated, because I thought there was someone else also in there.
Fair enough.
And the other comment, and I don't know, maybe we've had this discussion but forgot, but the BIA committee doesn't seem to be on there anymore, so I'm still listed as a rep for the council, but we've lost the numbers of the members, so I don't know, did we change that somehow?
Yeah. Is that for further investigation at this stage? Madam CIO?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I believe we're treating the BIA a little differently because they're not citizen appointments. So to have a council rep is wonderful. I just don't know that it would fit under this bylaw.
Okay.
We'll investigate a little further.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, further? Good working. Yes, Councillor Shea.
So we have received four applications to the Accessibility Advisory Committee. One came in an hour and a half ago. One came in yesterday night. One came in that was improperly filled out. This is going to be a trouble committee. But they haven't been vetted or gone through closed session, so I'm going to suggest that we not move forward with that, but bring those applications up.
Okay, and I'm excited to hear we have more applicants. That's wonderful. Clerk Turner?
Yes, any that were brought forward since the agenda was done will be brought forward to closed session. We'll want to make sure, we'll bring them forward. Well, obviously, there's a certain number or composition of the Local Accessibility Advisory Committee needed. So we'll have to, even if they come forward, hopefully we'll have enough individuals that we can actually constitute that committee as it's required to be constituted. So we'll look at that and we'll advise accordingly, but we will bring those forward to you.
Okay, anything further? All right, well, then I am suggesting to call the vote on the draft bylaw 76-2019. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. It's a living document, members of council, as we've all learned. Okay, thank you very much. So now we're dealing with draft bylaw 77-2019. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Hutchinson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 77-2019, being a bylaw to establish a site plan control area for lands described as Plan 505, Park Lot 1, Geographic Town of Durham, in brackets JT Excavating Limited, end of bracket, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Clerk Turner, please.
So just a reminder for council, this is the proposed, basically it's a 7-unit in total townhouse development, and it's subject to an official plan, West Grey official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and 3 different severances. So there was some direction to place this property under site plan control, so that site plan agreement will be required at some point before the building commences.
Comments, questions? Councillor Herger.
What is the timeline on the site plan coming back to us? Like, would we have that planning meeting in between where we could address some of the items, like before it comes back to us?
That's a possibility, yes. It all really depends on how quickly the developer puts together a site plan, and we have a template for a site plan agreement, and they would typically have their lawyer make the changes and then come through us, and our lawyer would review it as well as our planner. And then if it was ready to go, the next step is typically go to council. Well, we'd also vet it through again through the county planning department and the conservation authority. So once those parties are in agreement, then it would typically come before council with the recommendation to approve, because all parties have okayed it, so to speak. But I suppose, again, it is possible to bring it back for discussion or recommendation to, if it's committee of the whole planning, of course, it only meets once a month, so it could again delay some things, but
So this
if the
bylaw,
timeframes worked, I suppose.
this bylaw is just going to recognize the whole property as a site plan controlled area, and the site plan agreement will come later. So,
Correct.
I guess that template that you're speaking of, that's probably what council would like to see. And I'm speaking for myself here, but if we had a template eventually, that was something we would take up at committee of the whole. I think that's what we want to be included in on. This, I'm fine to pass this as a site plan control area.
Councillor Townsend.
Yeah, just to say that a little differently from what Councillor Herger said.
Sure.
This is a perfect example of, because of the nature of the layout of the water source, as well as its natural environment, plus there were concerns expressed at our last meeting when it was presented. I think that this is where we need to understand exactly what's going to be under control, and we want to make sure that there's continuity from the discussion to the report to the end result. So.
Okay, very good. All right, are we at a point? Any comments? All right, I'm calling the question on this particular bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. Thank you. Draft bylaw 78, moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Shea. Be it resolved that bylaw number 78-2019, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 60-2017, being a bylaw to establish, fees and charges for certain services provided by the Municipality of West Grey, and to repeal bylaw number 46-2019, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Clerk Turner?
So this bylaw incorporates the recommendations from the Committee of the Whole stemming from the Recreation Supervisor's report. They implemented, the Committee of the Whole recommended for approval some additional fees and charges that weren't previously identified. So I have incorporated them into those that had been approved back by bylaw 46. So basically I merged all those fees into the one document.
Okay, further, Councillor Townsend.
Through you, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
to the CAO, there was a suggestion to actually incorporate the tax into the fee rather than have to mess around with small change. And I noticed that didn't happen. Is that something that may follow, or was it deemed not to be necessary?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I believe we landed on the fact that we were just going to show the tax as a separate cost.
And the clerks confirm that? Okay. All right. Anything further? So on the motion for this bylaw, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Okay, that's number 78. Draft bylaw 79. Moved by Councillor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Be it resolved that bylaw number 79-2019, being a bylaw to enter into a subscription agreement and eScribe Software Limited, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation engrossed in the bylaw book. Questions, comments? Councillor Townsend, please.
Just for the record,
Yes.
having had a fair number of comments on previous agreements, I did send a note to the clerk last night, basically saying it's one of the best I've ever seen. Not just that's come before here, but it really does speak to how we need to have agreements for software, et cetera, because it gives all the indemnifications you need, and it's something that we could actually use as a sample or a template when doing our own reviews. So.
Good, thank you for that comment. Further? Councillor Hutchinson.
I'm just curious where this company comes from, just having to do with support. Like, there's a lot of support, online support, modules, et cetera, but if a physical person had to come and help us, where do they come from?
Madam CAO.
Through Madam Mayor, our rep is based in the GTA. I believe it's Mississauga, so relatively local, and he will be here through the training in person.
Further? All right. Calling the question on this motion before us. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. So now we're dealing with proposed bylaw number 80. Yes. Yes?
Just for the record, the mailing address is Markham. Right, so they
Oh,
are in
thank you.
Ontario, so.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hergert.
On the e-scribe, will we be included as council in the training as well?
Madam CIO.
Through Madam Mayor, not initially, Councillor. We have a lot of staff modules to work through, and I believe the model is that then we have a staff that's trained as the super user who will conduct sessions with council.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. So I am reading into the record, moved by Councillor Hergert, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Be it resolved that bylaw number 80-2019 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the October 1st, 2019 council meeting be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Comments? Councillor Hutchinson.
I don't know if it's me, but is there something wrong with the date under, and whereas it deemed expedient that the proceedings of the September 17th, 2019?
Oh, for sure. No,
Like I thought we were talking October 1st.
Yeah, you're right.
Seems to be a conflict there. Okay.
So that'll be as amended. I'll put in as amended. Thank you very much. Okay, so noted by the clerk. Anything further? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. Okay, thank you very much. Just give a moment. Now we are moving on to number 14, which is the new business. The first one on the agenda from the notice of motion by Councillor Hamilton during the September 17, 2019 council meeting regarding a speeding/road safety attachment. Clerk Turner, would you just go through the process for this, for clarity?
So the notice of motion was introduced by Councillor Hamilton during the September 17th council meeting. As per the procedure bylaw, it is placed on new business for possible introduction and consideration.
Thank you. All right, where are we at? Councillor Hamilton?
Is now my moment to speak to the motion?
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
If you move it, that is.
Sure, I would like to move this motion, and then I'd like to speak about it.
Okay. I think we'll get a seconder at this point for it. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Townsend? All right, so we have it, and you have the draft motion before you in your agenda. It was on the final page. All right, so certainly speak to the motion, please.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. So this motion's in response to ongoing concerns raised in the community about speeding in certain areas of our municipality. And we heard concerns today, we heard concerns our last council meeting. Speeding was raised at our vision session, and I'm sure as we were all knocking on doors while we were campaigning last year, we've heard these concerns. And I know everyone's doing their absolute best trying to address these concerns, whether it's from our community policing, who are working very diligently in creating feelings of safety in a safe community, and of course our public works. But what I think we could do is bring those people together to the table, and I think we might arrive at some solutions that are different than if we continue working in our silos of operation. So the idea of this motion is to create a space to bring all those voices to the table, including our citizens. Our citizens are the eyes and ears of their neighborhoods. They know what works well in their neighborhoods. They know the concerns, and as we heard today, they have a lot of the solutions too. So traffic calming measure, it's not one solution fits all. We're not going to put speed bumps on every road, and we're not going to put stop signs on every corner. Every neighborhood's unique, and we have various strategies that we can dip into. So we have our enforcement strategies, we have education, of course we've got road engineering, and then we have our built environment. Our built environment might be like trees or crosswalks, speed bumps, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Those are all very different strategies that different departments utilize, and so it's important that we come together to the table to discuss those strategies moving forward. And actually, since bringing this motion out into the public, a couple of people reached out to me. United Way reached out and provided their safe communities strategy up in Bruce Peninsula and shared those reports and initiatives. So already, just by identifying this issue, we're starting to get some of that really good feedback. Public Health also reached out to me and have extended an offer to participate in a working group if we choose to go that route. And then I also spoke with public health because I know West Grey, I know we're involved in developing a community safety and well-being plan in collaboration with public health and stakeholders. We're doing that work already. That's important work. And so I asked public health, is there still value in us forming a group at the micro level, at a West Grey level, to address speeding? And certainly they did think that would be beneficial, that we could get more specific and more local in bringing these partners together. So I think opening ourselves up to the possibilities and bringing all the voices together will create a robust action plan based on data, best practices, and one that includes the voices of our citizens who are closest to the concerns and have the solutions. Thank you.
So at this point, I'm just going to have the motion read into the record just for clarity of everybody. And I do have a speakers list after the clerk reads it. It's Councillor Herger, Councillor Townsend, and Deputy Mayor so far on the list. Clerk Turner, would you mind reading the notice of motion?
So moved by Councillor Hamilton, second by Councillor Townsend. Whereas outdoor lighting is utilized for a variety of purposes, including...
That's, yes, yeah.
Point of order, that would be the dark sky resolution.
Oh,
we're dealing with the speed one.
This is, oh my gosh.
Okay, thank you. We caught that, but I appreciate the point of order.
Do you have it?
We do have it. It was on the agenda, which I've just passed over. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, that's just fine.
Sorry, my apologies.
No worries.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, second by Councillor Townsend. Whereas community safety is of paramount importance in the Municipality of West Grey, and residents have voiced ongoing concerns regarding vehicle speeds in certain areas of the municipality. Whereas effective traffic calming measures utilize a variety of strategies, including engineering, education, and enforcement, and thus require the collaboration of municipal staff and police services. Whereas residents require traffic calming solutions. Whereas residents require traffic calming solutions that are responsive to the unique needs of their neighborhoods, therefore be it resolved that a working group be formed consisting of a member of West Grey Council, a staff member from Public Works, 4 citizens, and a member of the West Grey Police Service also be invited. Number 2, the working group consult with residents and other stakeholders. Number 3, the working group identify key streets where speeding is most prevalent. Number 4, the working group provide traffic calming options for the identified streets which include recommendations for education, enforcement, road engineering, and the built environment. And number 5, the working group report back by the second quarter of 2020.
Okay, so we do have a mover and seconder for that. There is a speakers list. I'm moving along with Councillor Hergert at this point.
So the community safety and well-being plan, when is our date to have that established? Do we have a date?
Madam CEO.
Thank you for the question, Councillor, and through you, Madam Mayor. There was a kickoff meeting last Friday. From the county's perspective, they're taking the lead on this project. Jonathan Zattel from the CIO's office attended that. We haven't had a chance to debrief yet, but my understanding is that they are meeting quarterly. So there's some work to be done, and then they'll regroup.
Okay. Did public health offer any solutions about how to address this, or just get together and get the conversation started?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, they were very supportive of getting the voices together, the stakeholders together to start working towards a solution. And this is an idea that's open. This is a discussion I'm eager to have with council. Do you see coming to the table in a different way? This is just one way that I'm presenting, but I do think there's value in bringing the different voices together and having what was this called, a working group is one model.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Very
Anything
good.
further?
Thanks for bringing this forward too. It has been something that our residents have been asking for, so I'm glad that we are able to begin this conversation.
Thank you. Councillor Townsend.
Yeah, 2 things. I did check in the procedural bylaw, and the working group is the right designation, so it allows us to have council in it, right? I think it's important that we move forward. Any opportunity, I'd be very interested in participating.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. I believe public safety, yes, is a priority in our communities. Absolutely. I'm not sure at this stage if I would support forming an actual committee. The reason being is that I think this needs to go, I think we need to let the police chief actually, if you will, bite into this. And we have a new director of infrastructure that we're in the process of hiring. And I think those two need to communicate and look at some options and then maybe come back to us before we do a committee. Again, the committee may not be, we might be putting the cart before the horse in this particular situation. I think if we reach out to them, we do get some valuable input, and then maybe we have that, again, from that side of it, instead of going in and asking them for some, how would you say, for some answers that they don't even know if they can respond to yet without actually a full investigation on the area. So I would like to put a motion forward that we put this on the table until we have that part completed. Thank you, Mayor Robson.
Okay, so help me out here, Clerk Turner, but it's tabled, so I'll need, there will need to be a seconder on that. Is that what you're indicating?
Second that.
Okay, so we have a seconder. Now, Clerk Turner, the tabling at the appropriate time will not require debate on that?
Correct. So there is a motion to table this resolution. Is there any more? Is this, in terms of tabling it, is there more elaboration in terms of waiting for a report back from the police chief and the new director of infrastructure? Is that part?
Okay.
If I may?
Yes, please.
Yes, I would like to have this taken to the chief. He has to, from my understanding, he's looking into it. I would like the opportunity for him to respond to some of this. And until we do have a new director of infrastructure in place, I think once that particular individual is in place, the two of them come back through staff with a report, if you will, or some, give us some idea which way we should be going.
Okay.
Seconder to that?
I agree. Can I also comment?
So a motion to table is without debate, so it needs to be voted on.
So there's no discussion we can have? All right, so you have the motion to table for you. Are you having a clarification? Sure.
Procedurally, should we already have a motion on the table? Now you have a second motion, so can you explain the order and the why?
Correct. So the motion that was introduced, this another motion would table it, which is an order. It's a motion that would be in order to table this resolution. So in essence, it freezes this if it's passed until the action, if this is supported, is completed. And then at some point, this may be brought forward back to the table for possible consideration for approval once this tabling resolution is dealt with.
Okay, so could you just please read the tabling motion?
And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby tables resolution number 50319 until a report is received from the West Grey Police Chief and the new Director of Infrastructure and Public Works regarding speeding traffic safety concerns.
Okay, so there's no comment or debate, so I'm just calling the question on the tabling. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion loses. So then this one's on?
Correct.
All right. So, members of council, do you want this read into the record again? All right, so we're calling the vote on the initial motion. Councillor Hergert.
I'd just like to make a comment. I think that I think there's merit in starting this now. I respect what Deputy Mayor has mentioned, that we have a police chief and that he's aware of these concerns, and he will be investigating. I'm sure of that. Also, we have a new public works person coming. Let this be top on their desk when they get here. This is something from our community that really they're asking for, and we should be ready and prepared to address it. So I look forward to the culmination of all the ideas, the look into the best practices, get all that information together, and by the time we have the right people in place, the police chief will have a chance to investigate, our new staff member will have a chance to get up to speed, and we could probably have some ideas ready for a 2020 budget item. So I look forward to this moving forward.
So Deputy Mayor, would you take the chair for a moment? I'd like to speak. We do have a speeding issue within West Grey, and I think we have professionals on staff that can deal with this. We need a coordinated effort in terms of how we're going to mitigate speeding within West Grey, all of West Grey. And we have a police chief and a very fine police service that can address that. We will be having a new director of infrastructure in place, and I think it was of interest that we have our professionals deal with how the, whether it's calming, traffic calming, or speeding enforcement. Certainly our delegations have come before us expressing a need, and I just wanted that opportunity for professionals to address the issues prior to it going out to a committee and adding another layer of discussion. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm not opposed to a committee being created. I just don't think at this time it was the most prudent thing to do. We have, the opportunity to address the issues before us, and it's also suggested in the motion that it's only one member of council be appointed to the committee rather than all of council, whether we're sitting in committee of the whole as all of us, or council dealing with the speeding issues in the entirety. So this is where I felt it was important for all members of council to participate in a very important issue. And that's where my position stood in terms of dealing with our professionals first and getting the solutions brought forward and seeing if those solutions are what can make the change now, rather than adding another layer of bureaucracy, democracy into something that is of issue. So that is just my position. I'm looking, it was just for a statement to be made. I am taking the chair back now. So I think it was Councillor Hutchinson, and then I don't know if anyone over here. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. It is an issue, and we've obviously heard from residents. I'm not against forming this committee. I just think that we maybe have the cart before the horse here in terms of let's have a discussion with our new director and our police. I have a little concern when I read in here on number 4 that the working group will make recommendations for enforcement and road engineering. That's not their job. They can make suggestions. As far as getting into making recommendations for enforcement, I think we're stepping our boundary there in terms of the police board. So I would really like to have a discussion with the police and the director. And I think the idea is good. I think we can go here. I just want to take a little more time and get some professional opinions, as the mayor said, because when you put a committee and you get people all ramped up and they have all these great ideas, but then meanwhile our police chief might be saying something different. He might already be on board with some things that are happening, and our director may have some ideas coming in. So I'd really like to see us just slow it down a little bit. We know the issues are there. I see it every day on my road, but it's not going to be an easy fix. It's going to take time, so that's my concern.
Who wanted to speak over here? Councillor Townsend, the Councillor Hergert. Oh, pardon me. I just have a body language indication. Councillor Shea, did you have your hand up prior? Well, then we need to address you first. Thank you very much. So it's going to be Councillor Shea, Councillor Townsend, Councillor Hergert. Okay?
I think that somebody made the comment that when our new director of infrastructure comes in, that this could be, indicated to them that it's front and center. This could be indicated that it's an initiative that's already been begun by council, and that it's something that we're looking for them to get on board with and participate on in a calm, rational way. It's not an emergency situation that we're identifying here. As to the language about recommendation, I think maybe it would say recommend to council or something like that. This is just this isn't even a committee. It's a working group. Their job is to come up with ideas. Those ideas, I presume, would come to council, and then we would have the 7-person discussion supported by our professional staff. So it's not like we're circumventing council, I think, by doing this. I think this is just a brainstorming session where, really smart people who are committed to this problem are getting together and sort of exploring options. They're not going to be doing any decision making. And it's also nice the way that it's time delimited, that it's saying this is going to operate for a few months, and that at the end of those few months it's going to come forward with some recommendations. I was imagining that it might be useful, if that turns out to be a productive process, to say perhaps we'll have an annual meeting where that just talks about speeding, once a year, once every 2 years or something, so that people who are seeing emerging problems on their street would have a venue that they could come to and say, look, we've found some solutions in the past, we've tried this and that. So I appreciate the way that this is structured as sort of a short, focused, time-delimited enterprise. I also liked that the designation or the description of it as something operating at the micro level. We sometimes, we have things that happen at the county level, we have things that happen at the provincial level, and our job is that we're able to get in there and get right down to like this stretch of road, this 100 feet of concrete. So that's, I think, our job as a local council is to deal with local problems, and I think this is a perfect example of one that we can be rolling our sleeves up and tackling.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Townsend, then Councillor Herger.
Yeah, I'd firstly start off by saying our process seems to take a long time to get anywhere. And the reason I say that is you put the call out for people, you go through the vetting process, you appoint them, and you get going. That's going to chew up time. By then, I hope that the police will have done some research and the Public Works Director will be in place. So if nothing else, we're buying the time. But on top of that, the idea of showing some quick action, because this has come forward. I heard one of the speakers this morning say 2 years ago they were here saying exactly the same thing. The problem hasn't gone away. So I won't say it's critical, but I will say it's more than important. And a working group is minimally sort of sensitive or critical. So, let's deal with it that way and get started. As far as recommendations go, remember, the infrastructure director and the police are there. So the committee is not overextending its bounds. If you look at strictly council doing that, I would agree. I would 100% agree. We are not at the staff level. We don't have the knowledge, and therefore we shouldn't be giving direction. But if the director of infrastructure is there and the police is there, that would be a really nice merge of getting the opinion, so involving the citizens, using the experts in policing and the infrastructure, and they can have the skill and the knowledge and the right to bring a recommendation to council. So I think it's structured perfectly, and that doesn't mean council doesn't get its input, because it does. It'll come here to have that discussion. So those are my thoughts on why we should proceed now.
Okay. Yeah, I just thank you very much, and certainly, Councillor Herger, you're fine. Thank you very much for that indication. Now, I'll just remind you that under the Police Services Act, I think it's Section 31, that you can't direct a police chief to do anything, but you can invite, and then it will be taken from there. Okay, for that particular thing. All right. So, are there any other comments on this? All right. So we are calling the question. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. 1, 2, 3. It does carry. All right, we have 2 more items, I believe, under new business. And the first one is dealing with item C1. And that, you'll remember, members of council, is from the miscellaneous correspondence, Waste Reduction Week in Canada, request from Recycling Council of Ontario to proclaim the week of October 21st to 27, 2019 as Waste Reduction Week in Canada, and information relating to their Take Back the Light recycling initiatives. All right, Councillor Hamilton, you pulled this from miscellaneous. Do you have some comment?
Sure, thank you. So I would recommend that West Grey makes this proclamation. This process also speaks to registering the proclamation on their website, Waste Reduction Week website, and that we also include a new initiative that West Grey is taking to reduce waste. And I'd like to suggest that we can champion our new West Grey Sustainability Advisory Committee as being one step this year towards that. And then I look forward to declaring this again next year, and we'll have more steps to declare. So I would, I guess, have a 3-part motion. One would be move that we make the proclamation, that staff register the proclamation on the website, and on this website, the whatever this place is called, the Waste Reduction Week website, and that we also include our achievement of forming the new West Grey Sustainability Advisory Committee.
Sure. Is there a seconder for that, Councillor Townsend? Are you seconding it? All right. Do you have a comment or anything after? Then proceed. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
The only clarification I want to make is to get on the website, I thought you had to commit to doing an event during that week. So we just need to clarify to make sure of that. I still think we should go ahead and declare, but I think in order to get that designation or that recognition, I think we have to have an event, and that could be decided based on how quickly the Sustainability Committee could come up with something.
Sure.
So.
Okay. Councillor Herger, did I see your hand? I'm not certain.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So are there any comments, questions, or concerns? Then I'm asking for a vote on the motion after I read it.
Yeah, I had quite a simpler version.
Yeah, I noticed that. Clerk Turner, do you want to just let everybody else know?
Right, so I had crafted a motion, but I believe Councillor Hamilton has requested some additions. Initially, it read that resolved that the Council of Municipality of West Grey hereby proclaims the week of October 21st to 27th, 2019 as Waste Reduction Week in Canada. Sorry, and that would be the request from the Recycling Council of Ontario. And then Councillor Hamilton, so that would be further that staff registers the proclamation on the West Grey website and includes the new initiative of forming the West Grey Sustainability Advisory Committee, or noting the formation of the West Grey Sustainability Committee on the website as well.
Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Oh, thank you. I meant for it to be registered with the Waste Reduction Week website, but perhaps that doesn't need to be in the motion. Perhaps that's staff direction if it makes sense to do so.
Seconder?
Yeah,
You're
okay.
clear with that? Okay.
And then should West Grey decide to make this public, we could also include it in a press release if we chose to do that as well.
Okay. Do you want to read it?
So, if I understand, so it's moved by Councillor Hamilton, second by Councillor Hutchison. Resolved that Council Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the request by the Recycling Council of Ontario to proclaim the week of October 21st to 27th, 2019 as Waste Reduction Week in Canada. And then in the minutes, I will note some direction to staff.
I just want clarification on the seconder. I called that Councillor Townsend was the seconder. So we'll just move that to Townsend. Correct, members of council? Yeah, it was Townsend. Not a big deal. All right, with that amendment that doesn't have to be identified as an amendment, are there any other comments? What's that? Yes? Oh.
It's already signed. So
Okay, that is a point of order then. Absolutely. We'll take that point of order, and you are the seconder then. Another time. Okay. All right, so it is read into the record. So I'm calling the vote on this. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. Okay, Councillor Bergert.
Just a question, would we have staff at all out, in the community during that week trying to promote waste reduction, or at our landfills, would we include some sort of doing activity to show people how to recycle better, or out in the schools, or some sort of outreach to say, yes, we proclaimed it, but we're not going to stop there. We've got this new sustainability committee, and this is what we're doing about it. I think the doing is really the hardest part, but it's the part that engages people to say, oh gosh, I thought that lid went in the other compartment. It's just that bit of education to say, shine the light on it, and then to educate people. So I think I would be looking for some doing part of that proclamation week.
Madam CAO.
Thank you for the question, Councillor, and through Madam Mayor, I think knowing current capacity of our hardworking staff, an education component would absolutely be manageable. I know that one of the Public Works admin assistants who's quite passionate about this topic has been working with our communications support to redesign a recycling right brochure. So I confirm the timing because this could be perfect timing that could at least be provided at landfill sites. And now that we have an extra landfill day, we've got another opportunity to get information out to even more people.
See, that's the part that I wanted to counter, because we're adding in an extra landfill day doesn't mean that we're supportive of more landfill stuff. It's that we want to encourage people to get it to the right place and that we can deal with it properly then, right? That it's safely dealt with.
Just one more comment. I know it's a few weeks away, but it might be one of the things that we talked about, and we've even said some things that I'm not sure we're quite there yet. Composting, and I think that's a simple one that we could do a better job of trying to reduce the amount of garbage that goes into our landfills. So my suggestion is maybe our sustainability committee would want to do a little PR or do something regarding composting, because I think it is something that it's an easy fix, even if it's putting out there that we'll sell some composters. Just some way of promoting it, baby steps sort of thing, and let's get something going.
Members of council, we have one more item I'm just repeating for the television and also for the website. And that is the item from consent where we're looking at to confirm a date for the special committee of the whole on our visioning sessions. I would ask that you would look at your calendar, please. We've proposed the 8th, Tuesday, October the 8th. I have a Grey County long-term care committee meeting. I'm going to suggest that is a very important one to attend. Could you please look at your calendars to look at another time and date that we could perhaps look at this special committee of the whole, and maybe if we could just throw some dates out, and I don't know how this is going to work with everybody. I'm just going to propose some dates of Monday, October 7th, is the 9th of Wednesday available. Certainly the 10th, that's usually a full day of Grey County Council. And then I'm going to jump over to the following week of October 17th, which is a Thursday. Dare I say Friday, October 18th, I'm free. And then it gets into the 22nd, which is the Tuesday. I think that's still okay. Okay, scratch the 22nd. And then the 25th. 25th is getting a little too late, I think, but are any of those dates workable? Councillor Hutchinson to begin.
Well, I was just going to suggest a date. What about meeting before the council meeting on the 15th? I don't foresee that meeting being that long, isn't it? We're just trying to set the agenda for our visioning sessions, right? So, you know, I don't know whether we have closed session or not on the 15th, and maybe we don't know that yet.
So I'd like to scratch that one because I'm at Grey County Strategic Grey County Strategic Planning from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 to 4 p.m.
Okay.
And so would our deputy. So that is, it's fine. I don't mind the full days and into the evenings, but on that particular day, we wouldn't be able to achieve it. Could you suggest, did any of those dates that I...
Well, the other ones I'm sort of open on most of them, but...
Okay. Then I'm just going to go down the horseshoe. Councillor Hamilton?
I'm afraid none of those dates will work for me, but please go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, were those dates that I suggested?
I lost track because I was kept moving
Clerk, did you
around. So.
happen to write down any of my dates that I just proposed? No? Okay. Okay, that's okay. So, here we go. And the 7th. 7th, 9th, not the 11th. 7, 9, 17, 18, and 22, if we want to press it that long. Those are just proposed working dates at this point. Madam CAO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I, just picking up on the current comment about the length of this meeting, Mr. Turner, how long do you think the planning meeting on the 8th will go that afternoon?
My thoughts, exactly, I was thinking that too. It's difficult to tell. It could go 4, it could go 5. We could put a time frame for after the meeting, say 4:30, and if it's a little late, it's a little late getting to, but at least it's there. That might be the best solution.
Yes,
if you're available.
because I'm free in the evening. If it's just the morning component. Councillor Hamilton, would that work for you?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Wow.
And Madam Mayor, if I may just ask the Deputy Mayor, I know that that's the Chamber of Commerce meets that evening. What time do they start?
6 o'clock.
So totally workable. Councillor Herger, but you are otherwise occupied, okay? Is that correct? Okay, thank you. Yeah. So are we okay with members of council? Could we look for October 8th, 4:30? Clerk Turner, is that what we're looking at for it? Does that work? Okay. So we would need a mover and seconder for that.
Yes.
Because it's official. Councillor Hamilton, Councillor Townsend. Is there any other comments on that? Well, I'm just going to move the chair to you. It's just a quick comment. And that is, thank you very much. I really appreciate the flexibility in having that date change. I'm taking the chair back. Can I call the question? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. Thank you. So I believe we are off our new business items, but you tell me. That sounds like an auctioneer from the past that I know. Anyway, Councillor Townsend. Yes. Your mic, please? Could you repeat?
Yes, again. With saying that certain events are going to come up at certain meetings, trying to keep track of all that can sometimes be confusing. So if there's a way to either post it on the website, even for the public that knows it's coming up, but also for us, so we can refer to things that have been committed for a certain meeting coming forward.
Food for thought and something to take a look at?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I would love to get to that point where we are planning that far out. I'm hoping that East Scribe might be able to organize this a little bit differently.
Yes.
So if I can just have that as on my to-do list.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
No, that's great.
Thank you.
We're just into process improvement. I think we all are. All right. Are we safely off new business items? Okay, very good. So addendums, are there any? I don't believe so. Thank you. Do we have any on item 16, notice of motion, direct motions? All right. Item 17 is closed session, incomplete items only. We do not have any. That is an NA. Item 18, matters arising from closed session, incomplete items only, NA. Question period, members of the audience under item 19, are there any questions? Mr. Miller. For this? Townsend, you carried that. Went through.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. In respect to Councillor Hamilton's resolution, there's a couple of things there I don't quite understand. We talked about streets We don't talk about roads or highways. Now, you might say they're all the same, but they're not. Streets are, mainly we think of streets as being in towns or villages, built-up areas. Now, out where I live, I'm on the corner of two different roads, a concession road and a Allen Park Road. I have two different numbers, one for each road. So it might be, you might kind of consider including in your work you do or studying you do the roads and the highways as well as the streets. Now, speeding, yes, I have speeding. People like to come down past on the new road there around my way as opposed to where they can't go over the Kennedy Bridge, so they got to come around past me. And they go putting there like the German, what do they call it? That high speed road in Germany. They drive that way most of the time there. I can put up with that, but what I can't tolerate very good is these ATVs that go way too fast. Way too fast. So anyway, so much for that. That's just my general thought. County Road 3, it's a road at, there's a lot of high-speed traffic on it, and most of that high-speed traffic, I can tell you, I can guarantee you, it comes from out of town. It comes from way down there someplace. They can't drive fast down there, but they come up here. I did speed rail, and I know the West Grey Police have been working on that case there. They actually have charged a few people who were going a little too fast. Well, good for them. And I know what we really need about 2 more police officers, but they can't really afford that, so we have to do the best they can, and they're doing a good job. So all you can do is keep it. Speaking of the police doing a good job, I see in the Wellington Advertiser they're doing a good job. I don't know if anybody else seen that story.
You can show me that after the meeting, perhaps.
Yeah, they're running up people, and the Wellington Advertiser, they seem to be pushing the area this way a little bit more too to get more news. So, anyways, this speeding bit is a problem. So all you can do is spend as much time on police patrol as you can, and hit them hit these speeders in the pocketbook. That's the place that they get their attention. Not let them away with a. Be good now. So, okay, that's my story. It's getting late. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Appreciate that. Okay, appreciate your comments. Yes, Councillor Townsend.
Since Mr. Miller wasn't here, I just remind him that, or at least inform him that at our last committee of the whole, there was an issue raised on Grey Road 3 and speed, and there's already a commitment by council to actually send that to the county and make them aware, and that's what will happen with highways as they occur. They'll go to the right jurisdiction because we don't have that over highways. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Thank you both. Excuse me as I lose my voice. Thank you both, quite frankly. I appreciate that. All right, where are we? Item 19, question period. And then item 20, Municipal Act notices. It indicates here on the agenda there are none. Oh, item 21, adjournment. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Shea, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you very much.